So as things stand, this piece of flint is 11 inches long, 5 inches wide at the widest point, and about 1.25 inches in thickness. The roughing out went quite well. There's no hinges on the surface or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to run sequences of flakes backwards and forwards on here, and hopefully not create any more problems on the journey. So with a nice coarse quartz pebble, that's what I'm going to use for abrading and setting up the platforms for antler soft hammer flake releases. When you're knapping something that you're hoping to get quite thin, you need to be able to listen quite carefully to the sounds that are being made by the tools, because they should warn you if you're pushing your luck or asking too much from the flint. Okay, so what we want is we want that to be happening now pretty much continually. This flake has found an exit strategy all the way around, so it hasn't caused any problems, which is good. And the other important thing is to try and work in a fashion that's balanced, so that you don't end up working on a bent piece of stone. This abrading is done quite obliquely, so that you don't cause any hinging on your platforms. If this all goes successfully, what I'm looking for at the end of the journey is around about a 6 to 7 mil thick blank of flint, which will then be shaped into the dagger nearer to the end. It's really important that you hit it confidently, so that the flakes do their full journey. If you don't, it will just fall in half. So you don't really have a choice. A little problem stood up there, but that's not too much of a worry at this stage. Quite a lot of width to go beyond, so we'll just bring that edge back a bit further. So the type of Danish dagger that I'm looking for will either be type 1 or type 2, sort of late Neolithic, early bronze. And using the same technology as they did then, the job doesn't get any easier, and really demonstrates that they were committed knappers with quite a high level of skill. some people say that when they're making these daggers, they were making them to kind of replicate what they were achieving in the bronze. Don't know how dear to that opinion I really am fixed personally. I think a napper is always trying to challenge his own abilities and levels anyway. Many nappers out in the field are fairly hooked on using what's described as a copper bopper for this kind of work. But personally, I've always worked with antler, and quite happy with that. There's no problems reaching across the stone. One of the issues that crop up when you're making something so thin is that the surface that you're working on becomes quite flat behind the point of the flake. This is why you need to set up a platform, turn the flint over, pass the flake, then just tilt down, set a new platform up and pass the flake on the opposite side. And if it comes to it that the flint is getting too thin to work, because every flake is going out into a very flat part of the stone, then you'd need to actually send a short series of flakes to regain your bevel. Otherwise the flakes that you're sending off will be too thin at the beginning of their journey. At this stage, if you chose to, you can go down the whole side, bring a platform through the whole thing, or you can just work one platform for one flake, however you want to do it. Further on to the type of dagger that I'm making currently, they made some exceptionally skilled daggers by leaving the centre of the handle slightly thicker and then running a crest down the centre of the back. That is an extremely difficult process to achieve, and I've already made the back of the handle here too thin to achieve it with this, I believe. And I don't really feel like snapping it, so which would be one of the most likely outcomes. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to navigate around this damage that I caused earlier. I'm regaining the control over that section of stone. Again, I have to be careful that I don't eat in too much here and leave these ends bigger, because that will cause interesting vibrations through the stone as I'm working. Coming across a few inclusions here which aren't the purest parts of the flint, but I still think we can get flakes under that. So the flakes are passing out to the centre of the flint, which is good. Or just past the centre as it was. So we really need this off now, and rather than going head on at it, try and get some advantage from either side really. That was helpful. A shorter stroke has taken off part of that hinge. At the moment I've raised this up off of the leg. That's helping with a little bit of angle change and somewhat to the accuracy. So good, we managed to take off what was giving us trouble there. Or a proportion of it anyway. One more little bit just here, which is needing to be sorted out. Really good, so I'm pleased with that. Now looking at it, you can see by us sorting it out, it's become a little twisted again. So for me now it's about regaining the balance, taking the odd lump off, like this little lump here, taking some out of here, and that will straighten our line again. So this is quite a granular abrader, but it's passing by with you get almost like a smoky residue of the powder coming off of the hammerstone as you go by, and it's leaving this edge in good condition. So where are we at in terms of the measurements now? What we have here is we've still got our 11 inches. We started at 5 and now we're at about 3 3/4. And the thickness is under an inch, but not all that much. Important that you take the weight from the tips before you take the weight out the middle. So when you're trying to make something like this, nothing is guaranteed, and if you are successful, then you've definitely been quite lucky as well. But it's also good fun, and it's important that you don't get too caught up in the outcome, because that changes the way you hit the flint. So we'll push on a little bit more. The sounds of the knapping are important. You normally tell you after that you've done something wrong, but you should be hearing the crisp, clean styles of removal. Rather than the sound that sort of makes it sound like it's bending a bit. And as the flakes go over, they will tend to hinge slightly on the far end, but that's not a problem. You just pick it up either with your fingernail or with flakes that pass back from the opposite side. This is the profile currently. It's getting kind of thin. There's still a bit of weight just here. I should aim to get down underneath that pretty soon. Like now, I guess. Sometimes when previous flakes have come off, what they do is they leave the edge quite scalloped, and that will be a classic place for you to end up with a hinge. So you need to remove them sort of scalloped sections. Yep, the rooster's back. I ain't killed him yet. He should be a good flint napper, I reckon. He's watched enough. Oh, look at my old mate, look. There he is. He knows the camera's on him. You see what all the fuss is all about. At this stage here, you start feeling a little hesitation, but that ain't going to do me any favours, so I've got to kind of not give in to it, because that won't be a helpful thing to the knapping. Now just here I've got a little bit of a complication. And trying to strike through that, because it's so close to the end, probably caused me to do something up here I didn't want to do, like snap it in half. So I'm going to pressure flake this into a new shape and give myself a better advantage of coming over the top of that. Okay, so I've reformed that section now so that I should be able to take a little flake off there. So I think what you can gather from this getting your shots wrong on the ends can that can cause it to bust directly in half, which is what we're really trying to avoid. Also change the soft hammer over to get a bit more accuracy. Slightly lighter one. Now this face along here is very, very flat, so as I mentioned to you before, sometimes if you're trying to shoot something into that flatness, what you'll be rewarded with is very, very thin flakes with a sort of scatty shape to them, which leads a fairly unpleasant look to the finish. So what I'll be doing first of all is putting a sort of mid-length flake into this face just to get bevel back. Our rooster's making the same noises I feel like making at the moment. The face of this soft hammer at the moment, it's got quite heavily eaten up, and it would be a sensible thing just to give that a bit of a sweep over with either a file or a sander, because as we're hitting now, what's happening, we're grabbing the edge of the flint quite badly. So I'm going to take 5 and going to sweeten up this face. Okay, we mildly improved the face here, so that shouldn't give me as many problems with removing the flakes now. felt cleaner straight away. Looking through it, it's nice and dead straight, which is great. As you can see, the profile's coming down and down, so it's just a case of not losing my bottle and carrying on. The Danish Type 1 has a slimmer handle than the Type 2, so the way I'm playing this, I guess that's what I'm making. Still got a bit of this cementy area left here. It's always likely to give us trouble on something like this. Something like that can cause us end shock. This little diamond here in the platform could cause us end shock, so I'm going to pressure flake that off. It's the little things that you have to watch out for at this stage of the game with flint knapping. That was the sound that we didn't want. So there you have it. You lose your bottle, you lose a dagger. Perfect hinge set, perfect end shock signature. Could still use this for something, but kind of you know, a little bit gutting when it happens, but there you are. All in the day of something like that can cause us end shock. This little diamond here in the platform could cause us end shock, so I'm going to pressure flake that off. It's the little things that you have to watch out for at this stage of the game with flint knapping. That was the sound that we didn't want. So there you have it. You lose your bottle, you lose a dagger. Perfect hinge sound, perfect end shock signature. Still use this for something, but kind of you know, a little bit gutting when it happens, but there you are.